welcome everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing higher tier paper 2 June 2023 Maths Edexcel. Well, as I always say in my every video, if you want to enroll a free demo for GCSE classes for micro batches, it's just at £6 per hour. And also we are running the Christmas offer, and I'm running live sessions for mock papers and for walkthrough of past papers, and it's at just £4 per hour that you can avail till the 25th of December. And if you need to enroll your seat for any subject from year 1 to year 13, it's just email us at edexcelacademy@gmail.com. We'll coordinate. Okay, so let me start. The first question says, work out the value of 25 minus root of 43.87 over 6 plot 2.1 whole squared. It's basically you have to directly type all the things in calculator and you'll get the answer. So just put the values in the calculator, and then at the very end you'll end up getting the answer as 1.765279223. And important thing is, here they have specifically mentioned that you have to write down all the figures. That's why I have written all the figures. Work out the value of reciprocal of 0.61625. So it's 1 over 0.625, which will give me answer as 1.6. So starting two are pretty simple to solve. The next one says write 60 as a product of its prime factors. So prime factors are basically, it means we have to find all the prime numbers. When I multiply them together, I'll get 60 as my answer. And that can be done by factor tree method. So the factor tree method says that you have to make two different branches, and then you have to keep on factorizing it. Ultimately, you end up getting all the prime numbers. So if you're not aware of this, I'm showing you how to solve it. And you can comment your any doubt right here. If you think that you need more good explanation or whatsoever, you can comment down below. So 60 on factor tree method says you have to make two branches, branch 1, branch 2. In branch first, I'll write the smallest possible prime number that can divide 60, and clearly that is 2. So I'll write 2 here. On the other branch, I'll write 60 divided by 2. 60 this number and divided by 2 this number, which will give me 30. Again, it will be split into two branches because 30 is not a prime number. I'll stop doing it when I'll get the prime number on both the branches. But here 30 is not the prime number, so I have to again split it into two parts. So the smallest possible prime number that can divide 30 is 2 again. So I'll be writing 2 here. And on the other side, I'll write 30 divided by 2, which will give me 15. Again, because 15 is not a prime number, so again split. On the first branch, I'll write the smallest prime number, which is 3 here. And here, I'll write 15 divided by 3, which is 5. And I need to end it up here because I got the prime numbers on both the branches. So 2 times 2 times 3 times 5, which is 2 times 2 times 3 times 5 are the prime factors. All these prime numbers, I need to multiply them together, will give me the prime factors. And obviously, when I multiply them all together, it will give me 60. So 2 times 2, 4 times 3, 12 times 5 will give me 60. Moving on to the next question. There are 48 counters in a bag. there are only red counters and blue counters in a bag. Number of red counters, ratio number of blue counters, 1:2, 1:2. That means if there is one number of red counter, there will be two blue counters. If there will be two red counters, there would be four blue counters. So that's the ratio between them. Helen has to work out how many red counters are there in the bag. She says there are 24 red counters in the bag because 1 is half of 2 and 24 is half of 48. And is Helen correct? You must give your answer, like reason for your answer. First thing is, forget about how Helen is doing. Think how you are going to do it. And then you can compare your working with the Helen, like is she correct or not. So there are 48 counters in a bag. So if X is the red counters, then definitely blue counters are 2X. And this is 48. From here, I'll get X as, divide both the sides by 3, I'll get X as 16, which means X is 16. So we know that red counters are X, which is red counters 16. And blue counters are twice of X, which is 32. Now that she says there are 24 red counters, so you just got to know that she is entirely incorrect. Even without this conventional method, if you are going to find the number of red counters directly, you would be writing the ratio of red counters, which is 1. Out of 1:2, red counters represent 1. So I'll write 1. Out of which part? 2 plus 1. These are in ratio. I am finding a proportion actually. So 1 plus 2 of total number of balls, which is 48. 48 over 3, that will give me 16. So yeah, red is 16 counters. It says, but she says that 24 red counters in a bag because half of 48 is 24. So what she's doing according to that, 1 and divided by 2 and multiply with it. No, we have to do 1 divided by, add their ratios. So 1/3 of the counters are red actually, not 1/2 of the counters. So what would be your reason? You will be writing that the reason is no, she is not correct. Because 1/3 of the counters are red, not half. Moving on to the next one, this is inequality. It says n is in between -2 to 5. That means the value of n is -2. It's equals to -2 but lesser than +5. You have to see the inequality sign. 5 is not included at all, but 2 is included. So that means if I have to write down all the greatest possible value of, if I have to write down the greatest possible value of n, it would be 4. Because here specifically mentioned n is an integer, that means if I write down the inequality of this, it is actually -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just writing only integers because it's specifically mentioned in the question that n is an integer. Now we have to write down the greatest possible value of n, which is clearly 4 in this case. Now, the next is, on the number line below shown the inequality, which is -4 less than equals m less than 1. So, I have to mark these two n numbers. So, on 1, I'll draw a circle. And on -4, I'll draw another circle because I am including -4, so it has to be a filled one. And I just need to connect them together. This would give me the inequality. Next is solve 2/5g minus 4 less than 6. First of all, you have to identify whether the inequality is a linear inequality or a quadratic inequality. Clearly, this is a linear inequality, so we have to solve it exactly how we solve any linear equation. Simple, transposing and cross multiplication. So, I need to isolate G. For that, I'll transpose -4 onto the right hand side, or I can say add 4 to both the sides. It will give me 2 over 5g less than 10. Now multiplying both the sides by 5 so that I can remove this denominator. Whether I'm doing a linear inequality or linear equation, my main aim is to isolate the variable. For that, I need to multiply 5 to both the sides. It will give me 2g less than 50. Finally, dividing both the sides by 2, g is less than 25. So finally, we'll get answer as g is less than 25. Moving on to the next one. Question 5 says, here is a triangle and rectangle. All the measurements are in centimeters. The area of the triangle is 10 centimeters squared, greater than the area of rectangle. So try to write down it in a sentence. So area of a triangle, is greater than the area of rectangle. And by how much area of triangle is 10 centimeters squared greater than rectangle? That means area of triangle is equals to area of rectangle plus 10. Because it says 10 centimeters squared greater than the area of rectangle. Whatever be the area of rectangle, if I'll add 10 to it, I'll get the area of triangle. Most common mistake that a student does it, they write it like area of triangle is 10 meters greater than area of rectangle. But if, say for example, I am putting area of triangle as 10. So 10 plus 10, area of rectangle you got as 20. And we know that area of triangle is greater, not area of rectangle. So try to understand the sentence what they are asking. They are saying that area of triangle is 10 centimeters squared greater than area of rectangle. That means if I add 10 to the area of rectangle, I'll get area of triangle. Area of triangle is here given, which is half times base times height. So half times base times height is equals to 10 plus area of rectangle, which is 4x minus 1 times 5. So 4x minus 1 times 5. Need to simplify. I can cancel it out, or I can say 6 times 48 x over 2 is 24x equals 10 plus 5 times 4 20x minus 5. Bring all the x's to one side. So bringing it to here, it will be 24x minus 20x equals 5. 4x equals 5 and x equals 5 over 4, which is 1.25. So what's the value of x? It's 1.25. Moving on to the next question. Last year, a family recycled 800 kg of household waste. 57% of the waste was of paper and glass. Weight of the paper recycled to the ratio of weight of the glass recycled is 12:7. Calculate the weight of the glass the family recycled. So, let me say that the weight of last year the family recycled 800 kg of household weight. So it was basically 800 kg that was being recycled. 57% of the waste was paper and glass. So out of 800, 57% was the paper and glass. So I just have to calculate 57%. So 800 multiplied by 57 over 100, which will give me 456. So I get to know that 456 kg was the weight of the paper and glass. Now the weight of the paper recycled and glass recycled is 12:7. That means paper recycled is 12x and glass recycled is 7x. And together they are equals to 456 because 57%, which is 456, is the waste contained paper and glass. So 12x plus 7x equals 456. 19x equals 456 and x equals 456 over 19. This is x. Calculate the weight of the glass the family recycled. If x is 456 over 19 and glass is 7x, which means 7 into 456 over 19, which will give you answer as 168. So 160 glass was recycled. Question 7 says, a number d is rounded to one decimal place. The result is 12.7. Complete the error interval for d. For error interval, what they're asking, if the question is up to one decimal place, what you need to do is up to one decimal place, that means 0.1 I have to write. If it's written two decimal place, it means 0.001. Okay, so one decimal place is 0.1. I need to half it. Whatever, if it's they have given up to three decimal place, it would be 0.001 divided by 2. So this will give me 0.05. This number I have to add to 12.7 and I have to subtract from 12.7. That will give me the error interval. So 12.7 plus 0.05 will give me 12.75, and 12.7 minus 0.05 will give me 12.65. So this will give you the interval. Question 8 says, Tasmin buys a house with a value of £150,000. The value of Tasmin's house increases by 4% each year. Rachel buys a house with a value of £160,000. The value of Rachel's house increases by 1.5% each year. At the end of 2 years, whose house has the greater value? You must show how you get your answer. So, I have to make two different columns, one for Tasmin and one for Rachel. So for Tasmin, the value of house, same £150,000 given in the question, and the value is increasing by 4% basically. That means increasing by 4%. So it would be 100 plus 4 by 100. That's the meaning of increasing. 100% is already there and 100% is what? 150,000. And the increment is 4% of it. So that you have to multiply with the actual value, which is nothing but 1.04. But it's for 2 years, so it will be whole squared. Or there is a direct formula for compound interest for, you can say growth, is your actual value, which I can say, let's say A, 1 plus your percentage over 100 whole to the power of t. So that's what I did. Even for the compound interest, the same formula is there. So I have to do same thing. A represents your initial value, which is 150,000 here. Definitely you might have seen these with different letters. Maybe there is not A there, there is B or whatever, but I have taken A. Ultimately, that's the initial value. A times 1 plus r over 100 whole to the power of t. So in this case, so the initial value is then 150,000. I'll write it here. R would be 4 and 100, and t is given as 2 years, so I'll put that all up and it will give me the answer as 162,240 pounds. This is for Tasmin's house. For Rachel's house, she bought it at 160,000 pounds. I'm applying the same formula because her house, the value of her house is also increasing, and it's by 1.5% each year. So this will be, so same 1 plus, which is now 1.5%. So it would be 1.01.5 whole squared. And if I solve it, it will give me 164,834, and clearly you can see it's the Rachel's house whose value will be greater after 2 years. So it's Rachel's. Now moving on to the next question. Question 9 says, the cumulative frequency table gives information about the ages of 80 people working for a company. And this is the table given with the cumulative frequency. Do remember, it's not the frequency table, it's a cumulative frequency table. So on the grid opposite, draw a cumulative frequency graph for this information. Whenever we are plotting the cumulative frequency curve, we have to pick for the value of x. I'll pick the highest value of this class interval. This is called class interval. 20 to 30 is a whole class. That is your interval. So I have to pick the greater number, which is 30. So my coordinate for x would be 30 and corresponding value for y would be 20. Similarly for x, next x would be 40 and next y would be 48, and so on, and I need to plot it on graph which is given here. So first value, it's 20 to 30. I have to pick the greater one, which is 30, and the value of y is 20. So my first coordinate is here, which is 30, 20. Next is pick the greater value, which is 40, and the corresponding cumulative frequency is 48. So 40 and 48 would be here. Next is 50 and 64. So 50 and corresponding 64 here. Then 60 and 75. So 60 and 75 would be here. And 70 and 80. So 70 and corresponding value 80. Do remember that the shape that you will get is S-type shape, or you can say like argy shape basically. So don't join with straight lines. Instead, draw a curve like this. That would be your, I would say it's not very, but yeah, it would be like this. That's your cumulative frequency curve. Now, the question says, use your graph to find an estimate for the median. You can calculate lower quartile, upper quartile, median for the same. You just have to see the cumulative frequency, the total frequency, which is 80 here. That's given. That cumulative frequency of 80 people working is given. So that total is 80. So median would be 80 divided by 2, because we know the median is a central tendency, and this is the reason I am doing divided by 2, which will give you 40. So at 40, I have to draw a straight line till it touches, let me draw like this, till it touches the curve, and from here I have to draw a vertical line like this till it touches your x-axis. This value, I would say approximately will give you 37. I would say 37, 38 in between. So I would take 37 as the answer. You can get any value between 35 to 38, I would say. So my answer is finally 37. Median is 37. Moving on to the next question. You can see it's a probability question. A biased dice is thrown 60 times. The table shows information about the number that the dice lands on each time. The number on dice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and the frequencies are given. That means when the dice is being rolled for 60 times, we will see 12 times number 1. Number 1 arrives 12 times. Similarly, number 2 arrives 7 number of times and so on. That's the meaning of frequency there. Gethin throws the dice twice. This is a biased dice, first of all, not an unbiased dice, because if it would be unbiased dice, you will be getting the same probability. But here, this is the reason this is a biased dice and you're getting the different frequency for each of the number. Now, work out the estimate for the probability that the dice will land on 6 both the times. So, let's say for the first time, you can say for 6 they are looking. So 15 times you will get out of 60 times. So 50 over 60, which will give you 1/4. That means obviously this value remains same, doesn't matter how many times he is like rolling it. So for both the time, for the first time he will get 1/4. That would be the probability of getting 6. And for the second time it would be the same, which is 1/6, which will give you the final answer as 1/16. Sally is going to throw the same dice n times and record the number it lands on each time. She will use her results to work out a more relatable estimate from the probability in part A. What can you say about the value of n? Well, basically the question is saying that Sally will throw the same dice n number of times. We don't know what n here, but we know that she's going to roll it for n number of times and record the number it lands on each time. She will use her results to work out a more reliable estimate for the probability. If she needs a more reliable value, obviously she has to roll it more number of times. That means the n should be or must be greater than 60. Moving on to the question number 11. Use algebra to solve the simultaneous equations. And this is very simple. They both are linear simultaneous equations. So either you can do it by substitution or elimination. Preferably, we solve it by elimination. So 2x plus 6y equals 5 and 3x minus 4y equals negative 12. I need to make the coefficient of any variable same. Coefficient, that means the number returned with the variable. Let me make x same. So for that, 1 is 2, 1 is 3. The LCM of both is 6. So I can make both the variables 6. I can make the first variable, the above one, 6 by multiplying it with 3, multiplying it with 3 and multiplying it with 3. Similarly, the bottom one can be made 6 by multiplying it with 2. Only focus on making x 6. So whatever you're doing with one thing, you just have to do with others as well. This will give you 6x plus 18y equals 15. And the bottom one will become 6x minus 8y equals minus 24. Now there are a lot of students, they got confused when to add, when to subtract c. The method itself says elimination method. You just need to eliminate it. That's all you need. Now you tell me, if you want to eliminate entirely 6x and 6x, will you add them? Just think it. If you add them, it will become 12x. You won't be able to eliminate it. You are making the coefficient same because you want to eliminate it. You want to make it 0. How can you make it 0? That should be your first question. Both are positive 6x, so I need to subtract it. So just subtract it. When you subtract it, positive will become negative, negative will become positive. So answer is 0. So 18 plus 8 will give me 26y, and 15 plus 24 will give me 39, and y is 39 over 26, which is 1.5. Now similarly, I can calculate the value of y, but simple what I need to do, I just need to substitute in either of the equation. In any one of them you can put it. That's the meaning of simultaneous equation, where both the equations will have same value of x and y. And one more thing, if it's given as two straight lines with these equations are given, what will be the point of intersection? They are actually the equations of a straight line. So the intersection point is actually the common point. That means both will share the same value of x and y. That is actually the graphical interpretation of this. So that's the you can say graphical interpretation. And here, if you have already calculated the one value for variable, the other value can be calculated by substituting it in any of the equation, which means if I'll substitute 2x plus 6y equals 5, and I need to substitute here at y 2x, and in place of y I'll write 1.5. So 2x plus 9 equals 5. Bring it here. 2x equals negative 4 and x is equals to negative 2. So two values are x is negative 2 and y is 1.5. This is how we can solve any simultaneous equation, any linear simultaneous equations. Now the points A, B, C and D lie on a circle with center O. ABCD is a rectangle. AB is given as 8 centimeters and BC is given as 10 centimeters. Work out of the circumference of a circle. See, to calculate the circumference, I should know the radius, and what's radius here? Radius is this. So this is basically diameter. If I'll be able to calculate it, radius would be half of it. And why I have drawn this one? Because diagonal is easier to calculate. It's actually rectangles sides are given, so you can easily calculate. We know the opposite side of rectangles are equal, so that means this is also going to be 8 centimeters. And all the meeting edges are at right angle, so this is going to be right angle. So I can apply Pythagoras theorem to calculate this diagonal. Clearly, just look into this triangle. This is actually a right angle triangle. So what I can do, I can say that BDC is a right triangle. So by Pythagoras theorem, BD squared, because BD is hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is always the longest side and opposite to right angle. It's important. Opposite to right angle. So BD squared equals 10 centimeters squared plus 8 squared. This is 100 plus 64. So BD squared is 164 and BD is root of 164. This whole BD is root of 164. So this is diameter of a circle, not the radius. Either I can directly apply the formula for the circumference, which is pi d. The formula to calculate circumference of a circle is either 2 pi r or pi d. So since we have already calculated diameter, so I'm just applying the formula to calculate circumference as pi d. So pi and d is root 164, and the final answer is 40.2 centimeters, because they have mentioned that answer should be 3 significant figures. So final answer is 40.2 centimeters. So that's it for it. In this part, there are total 24 questions in this paper. I'll be uploading the next video in which I'll be covering the remaining questions. So what you all need to do is just go through it, try to revise it, try to understand the concepts, and then give it a try for these questions without looking into the answers. That's the best way. So yeah, that's it for today. As I always say, if you want to access the free worksheets, you can visit edexcelacademy.com. And if you need any classes, group classes for GCSE, one-on-one classes for GCSE, for A-levels, and for any year from year 1 to year 13 for any subject, just email us at edexcelacademy@gmail.com. And classes are pretty affordable, and definitely we won't disappoint you. So that's it for today. Thank you. Have a great day.